Hey, what's going on, guys? So today's video is going to be on trying some Scrapple. Now, I've had plenty of Scrapple in my life. I'm actually a huge fan of it. It is the other white meat, kind of. If you've never heard of Scrapple, it's a Pennsylvania Dutch treat. There's a few states where it's kind of notorious, obviously Pennsylvania, but also Jersey. When I grew up in New Jersey, Scrapple was always on the menu at diners. Now, when you talk about Jersey and breakfast meats, you can't not mention pork roll or Taylor ham, as I know it. But there's another item on the menu, Scrapple. And not a lot of people talk about Scrapple very often, but you could Wikipedia it and Google the whole history if it seems interesting to you. But like I said, it comes from the Pennsylvania Dutch, and it was a way to use up the scrap bits of pork. All right, so they would basically mix a little bit of pork that was left over from processing other things, and instead of throwing it out, they mixed it with some like cornmeal and some different spices, and there you go. You got a whole another type of a meat option. So let me tell you my Scrapple story. But before I do, I want to thank Derek Smith. He's the person who sent this to me. He's friends with me on Facebook and on YouTube. Obviously knows me from the YouTube channel. But Derek wanted to try this himself, and he ended up sending me a case of 6 bricks. I could build a house with this stuff. So luckily it freezes pretty well. I know that from my own experience. So the other blocks are in the freezer. I'll have Scrapple until I'm in my 40s probably. So anyway, so Scrapple, right? This is absolutely wonderful if you prepare it properly. The first time I had Scrapple in my entire life, I'll tell you the story real quick, I'll try to make it short. I was with my father, and we were in Jersey, and we went early in the morning because he had to get an oil change on his vehicle. So we went to a diner next to the car dealership, and we're sitting there and trying to figure out what we want for breakfast. Growing up in Jersey, breakfast was almost always Taylor ham, egg, and cheese on a roll. But occasionally you got like some over easy eggs and some hash browns or something, or home fries, a little bit of sausage on the side. As much as I love Taylor ham or pork roll, as some people like to call it, there's nothing like sitting at a diner and getting, a couple over easy eggs, like I said, some home fries, and the big sausages, the ones where when you stick your fork in it, it shoots back at you. Man, just some good stuff. I love breakfast foods and I love diner. But so I saw a Scrapple on the menu. Now, since I was a kid, I've always seen Scrapple, but I never really knew what it was. And my parents didn't eat it. They just had, they like what they like. They weren't very adventurous with trying new things, but ever since I was a kid, I always liked trying different types of foods. So at one point I said, you know what, I'm gonna get some Scrapple. And my dad said, oh, okay, what's that? And I'm like, I honestly have no idea. I think it's a meat. He's like, okay. So I asked the waitress there, and she said, all right. Apparently there was a new cook that obviously didn't know anything about Scrapple, because when they served it to me, they served it like this. Okay, now you can see the coloration here is a very pale gray. They literally gave me a couple slices straight from the brick on my plate next to my eggs and potatoes and toast. And when I tried it, I thought, wow, that's gross. I'm never getting this again. It was only literally years later that I learned that you actually have to cook it. You have to brown it up in a pan. It's kind of like Spam, but not like, you can eat Spam out of the can. You can just slice and eat it. It's not as bad as, eating this straight from the package. But when you cook Spam, it's tremendously better. I suppose it's like bacon. If you eat a raw piece of bacon, it might seem pretty gross to you, but you cook it, it's amazing, right? Well, that is Scrapple. You can't eat this stuff out of the package like this. You have to cook it. You have to prepare it. So when I first actually tried it properly prepared, it was amazing. And I love it. And it just, once in a blue moon, it's something different. Bacon, 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 then you get the sausage, sausage, Taylor ham, it's all great. I love all the breakfast meats. Canadian bacon, all that stuff, right? But Scrapple is just an additional option. So before we cook this up, let's go ahead and see the exact ingredients on this particular brand, because there are a bunch of different, brandings as well. This is Haberset, all right, Philadelphia's favorite. So you can see we have pork stock, pork skin, yellow cornmeal, wheat flour, pork hearts, pork livers, salt, and spices. All right, so it's really straightforward. All we're going to do is take a couple slices of this, very similar to Spam. We're going to throw it in the pan with just a little bit of fat. So in this case, I'm going to use a little bit of butter. I suppose you could use oil. I never have before. And we're just going to brown this. All right, so it stays kind of soft. It's almost like, because of the cornmeal in there, it is a very soft type of meat. But you're just going to consistently hit it with heat, back and forth until it gets nice and brown on the outside. So it'll be crispy on the outside, but a little bit mushy on the inside, but of course, you know, thoroughly heated through. So, grab a big old man kitchen knife. I don't know if you guys saw, I did one of those YouTube shorts on this, but I love this guy. This thing is a beast in the kitchen. So right through the package, go ahead and take some slices. All right. And just like Spam, not too thin, not too thick. Obviously this could be, you know, preference, but that's all we need. So obviously take that plastic off. We don't want to eat the plastic. So just a couple little slices here. That'll be just fine. All right, so we get a little bit of butter in the pan. Let the pan get nice and hot. All right, start melting the butter. This is just so it doesn't stick. Move it around a little bit. We're gonna pop in our pieces. All right, so cold here. It smells great. It smells very pork heavy. It definitely smells like meat. The spices are very, very specific as well. It's kind of like when you have, like, you know, Italian sausage, you get that fennel. It's just always there. This has its own set of spices and herbs. All right, if I give you a close-up shot of this, you can see all that stuff mixed together there. All right, so again, this just goes straight in the pan. And now we just let it sit. I think the most important tip here with Scrapple is to be patient, because what's going to happen is this is going to cook. You're going to flip it. It's not going to look all that crispy. Even when it starts to look crispy, you're still kind of cooking it longer than you think you would. So at this point, I'm going to actually turn the heat down just a little. So this is on like between 6 and 7. And we're going to let this just sizzle here. That's it. I'm actually going to set a timer to give you an idea of how long to cook this for. So hang on, I got my phone out. Go to timer, and actually stopwatch, and hit start. All right, so when I'm all done, we'll see exactly how long this took. All right, so we are 4.5 minutes in. All I've done is flip these once. All right, so the other side's starting to brown, and then I also mushed them down a little bit. You can see the stuff coming out the side. So if you have a thicker piece, it's not a big deal, because this gets really soft in the middle, almost like a really thick oatmeal. So just push that down a little. You'll let that keep browning. Also, if you don't hear the fan in the background going, I have a couple slices in the air fryer as well. I've actually never air fried this before, so I'm experimenting with that. Right now I have some pieces in there at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. So I'm just kind of curious if that's going to be easier, as 99% of the time doing something in an air fryer is easier. If you don't have an air fryer, you are really missing out in life. It is amazing. I rarely actually use my regular size oven anymore. But anyway, so at the end, we'll kind of compare them and see if that was easier to cook it that way. All right, we're 7 minutes in from the start. We'll go ahead and flip these again. Now, unlike like a piece of ham or something, if you go to flip this and, like, you know, it folds over in half, it's not a big deal. You just kind of mush it back down. So see how it's getting nice and browns. So I'm going to let this go for another 2 or 3 minutes or so. And that'll pretty much be it. All right, we are 10 minutes in. So, let's shut the pan off here. Get our slices. Let's put it on paper towel to drain. Just like you would bacon or anything else. You don't need, there's plenty of fat inside. You don't really need the extra fat on the outside. And now I'm going to check on the air fryer, which has less than a minute left. All right, so that was 10 minutes at 400 in the air fryer, and those are sizzling. All right, now the taste test. So we have pan fried on the left, we have air fried on the right. These are both 10 minutes. They both look good. The air fryer also came out, it's crispy. It's hard to tell because you don't get the same browning, but if you want a little more browned, I guess you could put it in for another minute or two. All right, so here we go. This is what it looks like. Again, very similar if you are familiar with Spam, where the outside is nice and crispy and crunchy, but the inside is soft and kind of delicate. All right, so going in for a bite. Here we go. Man, I'll tell you, that's delicious. That is so good. If you've never had Scrapple before, you are missing out. Obviously, the main flavor is pork, but the spices are pretty specific. In a lot of different recipes from different companies and such, even if you're making it at home, key ingredients are things like sage, as well as a bay leaf. You also taste the cornmeal, so the pork and cornmeal together, just phenomenal, and also black pepper. Almost every type of Scrapple I've had was also pepper heavy. So if you don't like black pepper, it's something you might not like either. But let's go ahead and try a piece from the air fryer. All right, so a little bit softer. These are maybe a little bit thicker. I didn't mush these down, obviously. All right, so give that a little shot here. Wow, that is just good stuff. So what do you do with this? Well, you can substitute this just like you would bacon or sausage. So you'd have a couple pieces like this on the side, some scrambled eggs, potatoes. You know, some people make sandwiches out of it. Obviously, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich is probably one of the most popular breakfast sandwiches across America, including sausage, egg, and cheese. You could substitute the meat for Scrapple. So you could do a Scrapple, egg, and cheese. But some people just put it on bread. So you get a nice piece here. Pop it on. Get a piece and a half. And just fold it over. That's it. It's a phenomenal sandwich just on plain soft white bread. Go ahead and take a bite of that. Man, that is delicious. So yeah, let me know down in the comment section, have you had Scrapple before? What do you think of it? If you've never had it before and you actually go out and try it, and this is commercially available. I mean, most grocery stores have this in the freezer section. So if you ever saw it and kind of wondered what it is, it's worth trying for sure. Also, Derek, when you get a chance to try your Scrapple, let me know down in the comment section as well what you thought of it. But it's awesome. Again, this is not something I have, often. When I do have it, it's kind of a treat because it's something different. But it is absolutely delicious. It's very unique. There's nothing else quite like it. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video.